got on this time. Hi, everyone. Diana Rankin here with your weekly soul messages and some information from my spirit guide, Phillip. Had a lot of trouble getting on this week, so hopefully we're live now and we've got each other. So this week we're going to answer one of the viewers' questions, and I've got some exciting news to tell you, and it kind of fits right in with the viewer's question here. But before I forget, this is week 21 of 2020, and it's from May 17th to the 23rd, May 17th through the 23rd. And what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about the end times and what that means in our lives. Is the world ending? Well, we're going to find out. You know, we are in this huge evolutionary shift. We all know that, right? And it's interesting because the viewer's question about the end time is kind of fitting right in with what I'm thinking. And I have a dear friend, Greg, who is kind of coaching me and pushing me a little bit toward doing what we're going to be coming up and doing. So thank you, Greg. What we're going to be doing is, I think I mentioned last week, I am going back to, in addition to these weekly messages, we're going to do a monthly, and that's going to just be predictions. The monthly one will be, hopefully I'll get it done this weekend, and that will be predictions for June. I will still do a yearly one, but these weekly messages are going to be more about these evolutionary times that we're going through and to answer your questions. And what's interesting to me is the questions, without my really putting it together until Greg mentioned it, is we're really talking about this evolutionary shift. So many of your questions have been about that. So I want to give you more information on that, but let me get right into your question, which reads, you've mentioned before the concept of end times. Can you talk more about this? Does this mean the world ends? Well, here's what Phillip has to say about that. And yes, by the way, we will get a message from Phillip for each of us. So here we go. Phillip answers by saying, an ending is the opening to the new beginning. Endings can be hurtful or they can be joyous celebrations. The same is true of new beginnings. When mention of the end times is heard, it is heard to get the attention of the ones who are listening. These are the ones who are helping to usher in the evolutionary shift. It is not the end of the planet. It is, I'm going to repeat that, it is not the end of the planet. It is a shift to a new way of life, a way that is being called forth as the planet shifts into a new energy. This evolutionary shift has been felt by many and talked about by many. Even the ancient ones spoke of it, as have those within the more modern day times. It is a shift that must come about for the planet. It has been thousands of years in the making, but has only been experienced by humans over the past 50 years or so. Although the shift is the shifting of energy, the physical world is affected. By this we mean that your scientists are able to measure the planet's actual shifting. They can do the same for humans by studying the energy shifts in the human DNA, for example. We see there are multiple questions around the shift, more than you are able to hear in one setting. I believe that. Let us summarize by saying the planet will not end. Human life also will not end, but each human will have the choice to make the shift or not. Those who choose to make the shift will experience their lives differently, in that their world will be more joyful, kinder, friendlier. They will learn to create almost at will. Learn to create almost at will. So we have to learn how to create what we want to create. If we can create at will, we need to be careful about what we're creating, don't we? Phillip goes on to say, this does not mean they will give up their human bodies. And I think that's an important statement. This does not mean that we'll give up our human bodies. Quite the contrary. They will live in their homes, play with their loved ones and such. The difference is They will be living at a higher frequency. So the energy will be of greater beauty and love than is now being experienced. And then I thanked Philip and I say, there's so much more to explore here. And Philip says, yes, and we will. And he thanks us. And then I go on to say, this has to do with the same life experiences being lived on multiple dimensions at the same time, doesn't it? And Philip says, yes, it does. So we are going to explore what that means in the coming weeks. We're going to learn about how this shift, this evolutionary shift, what does it mean for animals? What does it mean for our relationship with animals? And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how it affects us. What, if anything, we have to do? What do we? How are we feeling this shift, and how do we get through it? If we do get through it, and how long does it take? And there's just so much to answer. So what I'm going to be doing is this weekly will be more about answering your questions. And I've noticed over the last several weeks, months really, your questions have really been around the shift. And I wasn't quite getting that until Greg mentioned it. And so, like with last week, we talked about the chakras. And I keep getting to learn too. So thank you. Keep those questions coming. You can email them to me. Go to my website, and you can just send that information right off to me. Some people actually pick up the phone and call me, and that's okay too. But we are going to start answering on this weekly those answers about the shift. At the same time, the predictions I'll probably keep more to the monthly, and we'll look at what weather's coming up for June, and even maybe some what do we have to look at financially, what are we looking at with the pandemic and all of that, and I'll keep that to the monthly just to make sure that none of these run too long. So let's go ahead and let's get our message from Phillip, shall we? And by the way, with the questions, I do ask you to make those questions, if you would, make them general rather than personal. It could be questions that you want a personal answer for, but if we have the general questions, such as the chakras, how do they work? How do we cleanse them, etc., like we had last week, or like this one with the end times. Those particular questions are for the whole audience, and that way the whole audience. I have been asked, before the pandemic, I did what I call sacred circles, where everybody would have 20 or 30 people in the audience, and people would come, we'd do a meditation. I would always have a little story to tell, and then everybody in the audience would get a message. I'm looking at how to do that online, and so when that comes up, I'll certainly let you know. And as I do that, and again, thank you for asking for this, and those of you who want will be able to Zoom in or however we're going to do it. It's not set up yet, so that will be able to answer your personal questions, and everybody will have a chance to answer one, maybe even two personal questions. In the meantime, if you do want a private reading, please get me through my website below. And here we go. We're just going to open to any page, and if you think left page, left side or right side, because each answer is just a simple answer, or a simple wisdom. Each page has a different wisdom on it, is what I'm trying to say. And I am hearing right, but if you heard left, that just means that your intuition is telling you need to hear the message on the left. And I always read them both. But here is our message from Phillip for this week, and I love it. It's life is reflective. Oh my gosh, is that an important message? Life is reflective. Now, on the left, if you got left, here's your more private message. Without the rain, flowers would not bloom and trees would not grow. But remember, too much rain produces floods that wilt the flowers and uproot the trees. So I'll read that again. Without the rain, flowers would not bloom and trees would not grow. But remember, too much rain produces floods that will wilt the flowers and uproot the trees. But our general message for everyone is life is reflective. Oh, my friends, we've got so many exciting things coming up, and I'm really looking forward to it. Keep joining us for these weekly messages so we learn how to get through these end times. And remember, end time is just a new beginning, and we're going to get through them together. I look forward to seeing you for the monthly June reading coming up, and that will have the predictions on it. And then I'll see you next week when we answer another one of your questions. For now, this is Diana Rankin saying, I love you. Thank you for receiving that love. And for those of you who want private readings, it's below. Just give me a call. Until next week, thank you.